The Elysium station hung like a solitary jewel in the void, orbiting the dying star of Arcturus. It was the crown of human ingenuity, an orbital citadel designed to push the boundaries of science and explore the final frontiers of mortality. Its corridors, lined with chrome and gleaming panels, echoed with the footsteps of pioneers who dared to defy nature itself. Among them was Dr. Cale Varick, a man who had stared death in the face more times than he cared to remember, and yet he had a peculiar sense of calm. Cale's journey toward the station was never a matter of ambition, but of necessity. 5 years ago, during an experimental mission to the Proxima Expanse, he had contracted a rare neurological virus that left him teetering on the edge of life and death. Conventional medicine had failed him, and the virus's progression was merciless. Doctors gave him 6 months at best. That was when the whispers began. Rumors of a clandestine project aboard Elysium station designed to prolong life beyond natural limits. A project known simply as Project Lazarus. When Cale arrived at the station, he was greeted not by applause, but by skeptical glances. The scientists here, brilliant but cautious, were pioneers in neurosynthetic integration, a technology that promised to map human consciousness and preserve it indefinitely. But even they doubted the practicality, the ethics, and the very morality of defying death. And Cale, frail and gaunt from years of illness, was the perfect candidate for both their experiment and their skepticism. Dr. Varick, said Commander Lyra Sun, a formidable figure with a presence that could silence an entire room. The team is ready, but you must understand, there are no guarantees. This procedure could end your life instantly. Cale's lips curled into a faint smile. You're not the first to say that, he replied. And somehow I survived worse. Lyra didn't respond. Instead, she guided him to the observation chamber, where the main interface of Project Lazarus hummed with a quiet intensity. The machine resembled a cross between a surgical theater and a neural server, wires stretching like metallic veins, pulsating softly with bioluminescent energy. The air itself seemed charged, as if the station itself held its breath. The procedure was both surgical and metaphysical. Neural nodes were delicately removed, preserved, and connected to synthetic circuits designed to sustain consciousness indefinitely. Cale lay on the table, eyes closed, hearing only the quiet cadence of his own heartbeat echoing through the biosensors. Time became irrelevant. The boundaries between life and non-life blurred. And then, just as his body slipped beyond the grasp of mortality, something extraordinary happened. Cale awoke, not in the station, but in a void of shimmering light, a place that seemed alive with whispers of existence itself. He could feel every thought, every emotion, every fleeting memory of his life, yet he was untethered from the frailty of his body. A presence approached, a form of pure energy, pulsating with awareness. You have crossed the threshold, it said, its voice neither male nor female, yet resonating deep within Cale's mind. Few ever do. You are no longer bound by flesh, yet you remain anchored to it. You have defied death. Cale's mind raced. What is this place? Who are you? I am the sentinel of thresholds, the witness to those who confront the end and return. You were chosen, though not by chance. Your will is exceptional. Your courage, unprecedented. The light receded, and Cale's vision snapped back to the observation chamber. The monitors displayed his vitals, steady, strong, stable. The team erupted into quiet astonishment. Years of terminal illness seemed to vanish in an instant. Cale, the man who should have been a ghost of his former self, was alive, invigorated, transformed. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Cale recovered with unprecedented speed, his cognitive functions sharper than ever, his body regenerating at rates previously thought impossible. Scientists documented every anomaly, every neurosynthetic integration, but Kale himself noticed something else, a subtle resonance within his mind. Memories of the void lingered, ethereal sensations that defied description, a connection to something larger, something that might not even be human. Yet, not all celebrated Kale's survival. Rumors spread across Elysium Station and beyond. Whispers carried across communication networks. Some called him a miracle, others a threat. Defying death meant defying the natural order and the political powers of Earth, and the Interstellar Council began to take notice. Kale was summoned to a tribunal, a court unlike any he had known, convened not on Earth, but on the floating citadel of the council itself. The courtroom was vast, circular, and sterile, with panels of alien and human delegates seated in concentric rings. Every eye turned to Kale as he entered, a fragile man now radiating an aura of vitality that seemed almost supernatural. The head of the council, a four-limbed entity named Vorin, spoke first. Dr. Varick. Vorin's voice echoed like the resonance of a cathedral. Your survival challenges the laws of biology, ethics, and governance. You have tampered with the fundamental principles of life. Explain yourself. Kale's gaze swept the assembly. For the first time in his life, he felt a calm that bordered on certainty. I did not tamper with life. I confronted death, and I survived. What I experienced is not an act of defiance, but an expansion. Life is not merely the preservation of flesh. It is consciousness, awareness, and choice. And I chose to continue. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some delegates shook their heads in disbelief. Others leaned forward, captivated. The tribunal was prepared for fear, for guilt, perhaps even for outrage. What they were not prepared for was truth delivered with unwavering conviction. You speak of choice, Vorin said, his limbs twitching nervously, yet few understand the consequences. If such technology spreads, mortality becomes optional. How can civilization endure when death is no longer the ultimate arbiter? Kale paused, sensing the tension in the room. Then he said something no one expected. Civilization does not endure because of death. It endures because of life and the courage to live. Death is a teacher, yes, but it is not the only one. By surviving, by understanding what lies beyond, I can teach humanity to value life even more, to live with purpose, not fear. A silence followed, so complete it seemed to swallow sound itself. The delegates conferred quietly among themselves. The decision could have gone either way, condemnation, imprisonment, or perhaps exile. Instead, the council did something extraordinary. They acknowledged the audacity of Kale's survival, not with celebration, but with cautious respect. You may continue your work, Vorin finally said. But know this, the eyes of the universe are upon you. Every choice you make echoes beyond your life. You have surprised everyone, Dr. Varick, and now you bear the responsibility of that surprise. Kale returned to Elysium Station, not as a patient, but as a pioneer, a bridge between life and the unknown. He dedicated himself to teaching, documenting, and exploring the subtle resonance he had discovered in the void. He became a mentor to scientists, a philosopher to politicians, and, most surprisingly, a moral compass to humanity. For with every step he took, he reminded the universe that survival was not mere defiance, it was a choice to embrace life fully. One night, in the observatory, Kale looked out at the dying light of Arcturus. The void was calm, endless, and inviting. He felt the presence again, faint but undeniable, like a whisper brushing the edge of thought. You have returned, it said. Yes, Kale whispered. And I am ready. The presence pulsed, a silent approval. Cale understood that his journey was only beginning. Humanity had survived the brink of its own limitations, and he had become proof that life could stretch beyond the fragile cage of mortality. But more than that, he realized the power he held was not in avoiding death, but in inspiring courage, purpose, and wisdom in those who faced it every day. Years passed. Cale's legend grew across colonies, stations, and worlds. His research advanced medical and neurosynthetic sciences by decades. Entire civilizations began to reconsider the boundaries of existence, not with arrogance, but with responsibility. And when Cale finally looked in the mirror, he no longer saw the frail man who had once teetered on the edge of death. He saw a human being who had dared, survived, and changed everything. In the end, Cale never truly defied death, not in the sense of escaping it forever, but in a way far more profound. He had transformed it from an enemy into a teacher, a guide, and a catalyst. And that was the surprise that stunned everyone, not just the tribunal, not just the scientists, but the universe itself. Because life, in all its boundless unpredictability, had found a champion. And Cale Varick, the man who had once been given only 6 months, had shown that sometimes survival is the most extraordinary act of all.